At a charity event in Miami, I saw my wife Isabella laughing charmingly with Ricardo, our new investor. But my smile faded when I saw the message on her watch, room 1201. Money transferred. That night, I realized she wasn't just cheating on me. She was planning a robbery. Phoenix doesn't just get hot. It tries to kill you with heat. It was one of those nights. 108 degrees, and the company mixer was, for some reason, on a downtown rooftop. The wind felt like a blast furnace, but the drinks were free, so people stayed. Mark nursed his first old-fashioned, feeling out of place. He just wasn't built for this kind of forced fun. His wife, Mia, was. She arrived late, making an entrance as she always did. She looked polished, confident, and completely in her element. She immediately found Logan, the new vice president of strategic growth. Logan was the kind of guy who looked like he stepped out of a corporate brochure. Square jaw, perfect suit, easy smile. Mark watched them. Mia was laughing, her head tilted back. Logan was leaning in, his voice low. They started to dance, their bodies moving a little too closely. It wasn't awkward, that was the problem. It looked comfortable, practiced. Mark felt that familiar twist in his gut. He told himself to let it go. It was just networking. That's what she always called it. He shifted, trying to get a better angle to the bar, and that's when he saw it. Mia's arm was on Logan's shoulder. Her smartwatch buzzed. She glanced down, swiping the message up for just a second, but it was long enough. Mark was in the perfect position to see the screen light up. Room 317 Red Heart. The words hung in the air, clearer than the music. Mark froze. His heart hammered against his ribs. It felt like walking into a wall. He looked closer, and the second detail hit him, harder than the first. Her hand, the one she'd just used to swipe the message. Her ring finger was bare. Mia never forgot her ring. She never forgot any jewelry. Before Mark could even process what room 317 meant, the watch buzzed again. This time, it was a different kind of notification. A bank alert. His eyes were already locked on the screen, and he read the words clearly. Purchase alert. Zeller and Hunt. Mark's blood ran cold. Zeller and Hunt. A high-end men's boutique. He knew for a fact Logan shopped there. He'd heard him bragging about a custom blazer from that exact store just last week. He felt sick. He looked around wildly, trying to make sense of the 1-2 punch he'd just taken. His eyes locked across the rooftop with Jess, Mia's closest friend at work. The one who always told Mark he was being too sensitive. Jess saw him. She saw the look on his face. She knew. Her own expression wasn't just guilty. It was pure, unadulterated panic. Her eyes darted from Mark to Mia and Logan, then back to Mark. Her face said everything. I'm sorry. I knew this would happen. She couldn't hold his gaze. She spun around and pretended to be fascinated by a tray of appetizers, her hands visibly shaking. That was all the confirmation he needed. A few minutes later, Mia must have felt his eyes on her. She excused herself from Logan, picked up a fresh glass of champagne, and crossed the roof toward him. Her smile was perfect. Hey, you, she said, leaning in to kiss his cheek. It was a performer's kiss. You came after all. I wasn't sure you would. Mark didn't move. His voice was quiet, hoarse. Where's your ring? Mia's smile didn't just falter, it froze for a millisecond. But she was a professional. She laughed, a soft, airy sound. Oh, I left it in the locker at the studio. I took it off before Pilates and totally spaced. You know how I am. He didn't know her. Not this version. You don't do Pilates, he said. You do yoga, and you never space. Not about that ring. Her eyes narrowed. The warmth was gone, replaced by a cold defensiveness. What's that supposed to mean, Mark? I saw the text. The color drained from her face. Then just as quickly, it was replaced by anger. Wow, you're reading my messages now? Is that what we're doing? It was on your wrist. Room 317. God, you're making this a thing, she hissed, stepping back. Right here, in front of my coworkers. I'm talking to Logan professionally, and suddenly I'm cheating? Do you even hear yourself? This is exactly the kind of thing that makes people think you're jealous. She made him the problem. With a few short sentences, she turned his shock into an accusation. She made him the one causing the scene. You want to hurt my reputation over nothing? She said, her voice low and cold. She didn't wait for an answer. She turned and walked away, back to Logan, back to the party, leaving Mark standing alone, the melting ice in his drink the only sound he could hear. It wasn't nothing. It was everything. And he finally knew it. The drive home from the party was silent, but it wasn't a comfortable silence. It was the loud, suffocating kind. Mia stared out the passenger window, her phone in her hand, the screen angled away from him. Mark watched her from the corner of his eye. Her thumb was a blur, tapping out messages. He knew, with absolute certainty, she was texting Logan. She was probably explaining away the confrontation, painting Mark as the jealous, controlling husband. He didn't say a word. There was nothing left to say that she would actually hear. When they got home, she tossed her keys on the counter and turned to him, her face set in a mask of exhausted patience. "Are you going to be like this all night, Mark? Or can we just go to bed like adults?" He didn't answer. He just went to the guest room and closed the door. He didn't sleep. He lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, the images playing on a loop in his head. Room 317 Red Heart. Her bare finger. The Zeller and Hunt charge. Jess's panicked face. It wasn't paranoia. It was a pattern. The doubt he'd been pushing down for months had just been given a name and a room number. The next few days were a masterclass in gaslighting. The entire house felt different. Stale. The silence was heavy, broken only by the sound of Mia's phone vibrating. And that phone, it was always with her. It used to be a non-issue. She'd leave it on the kitchen counter, in the bathroom, on her nightstand. Now it was her shadow. If she left the room, the phone went with her. When she sat on the couch, it was placed screen down on the cushion beside her. Always screen down. It was on Do Not Disturb, constantly, so it only buzzed, never making a sound. When it did, she would snatch it up, a flicker of annoyance crossing her face if Mark happened to be looking. The passwords were the next wall to go up. A few days after the party, Mark tried to log into their shared Netflix account. Password incorrect. He tried again. Nothing. He found Mia in her home office. "Hey, did you change the Netflix password?" She didn't look up from her laptop. "Oh yeah? I had to update a bunch of stuff for security. It's a work thing." "Okay, what is it?" "Just use your own profile, Mark," she said, her tone sharp. "Stop being so dependent on mine." He was stunned into silence. It wasn't just Netflix. It was his laptop, his email, our shared streaming accounts. He was locked out of their shared digital life. But the worst was the calendar. They had lived by that shared calendar. Dinners, appointments, work trips, reminders. It was the blueprint of their marriage. One morning, Mark opened his phone to check when their recycling day was. The calendar was gone. Not just empty, but completely erased from his app. He asked her about it. "That's so weird," she said, barely glancing at him. "It must be a glitch. I'm sure it'll come back." "Can you just resend the invite?" he asked. "Yeah, later. I'm busy." She never resented. He asked twice more. The second time, she sighed and said, "Mark, I don't have time for this. It's just a calendar." But it wasn't. It was his last window into her life, and she had just boarded it up. Then came the speaker. It happened on a Saturday morning. They were in the kitchen, a cold, tense imitation of their old weekend routine. He was making coffee. She was scrolling through her phone, that same screen-down habit in full effect. The smart speaker on the counter, which they rarely used for messages, suddenly lit up. A robotic voice cut through the silence. New notification. A message from Logan. Mia froze. The coffee mug in Mark's hand stopped halfway to his mouth. The air went still. Before either of them could move, the speaker continued. Message reads, "Can't wait to see you again soon. Red heart." Red heart. The same emoji from the rooftop text. It wasn't just a code, it was his name for her. Mia moved so fast, she almost knocked over the knife block. She lunged at the speaker, her hands fumbling. She didn't just hit mute. She ripped the power cord from the wall. Her chest was heaving. She forced a laugh, but it came out as a strangled squeak. God, that thing. It's always glitching. It's probably an old message, from a work group chat or something. Mark just stared. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. What? She snapped, her voice breaking with a rage that was 10% anger and 90% fear. It's nothing, Mark. Stop looking at me like that. It's just a stupid piece of tech. She grabbed her phone and stormed out of the kitchen. The denial was so frantic, so desperate. It was louder than any confession could ever be. That night, he waited until he heard the sound of the shower running. The speaker incident had been the final straw. He wasn't just suspicious anymore. He was an investigator in his own home. He sat down at his computer and logged into their joint bank account. He was looking for the Zeller and Hunt charge, but he started scrolling back. Weeks, then months. And there it was. A month ago, a weekend she had supposedly been on a last-minute business trip. A conference in Tucson, she'd said. She had seemed so stressed, so busy. The bank statement told a different story. There were 2 charges, back-to-back, from the Hamilton Spa and Resort. Mark knew the Hamilton. It was a 5-star luxury getaway in Scottsdale, famous for its private plunge pools and no questions asked discretion. It was not a conference center, and it was nowhere near Tucson. He checked the dates. It was the exact weekend she was gone. He wasn't paranoid. He wasn't jealous. He was a fool, and he was tired of being gaslit. He was tired of her lies, her excuses, and the way she made him feel crazy for noticing. He now had a trail. The text was the spark, but the money was the hard proof. She wasn't just cheating. She was using their money to fund it. The discovery of the Hamilton Spa charges changed something in Mark. The fog of doubt and self-blame was gone, replaced by a cold, hard clarity. He wasn't just a husband anymore. He was a man waiting for the next lie, knowing he would finally be ready to catch it. He didn't have to wait long. It happened on a Wednesday night. Mia came into the living room, sipping a cup of tea. She was the image of calm, dressed in soft leggings, her hair in a casual bun. She was playing the part of the tired, hard-working executive winding down. "Hey," she said, almost too casually. "Just a heads up, I'll be flying to Denver tomorrow. Conference thing. It's for the Sustainability Summit." Mark just nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on the television, not really seeing it. He'd heard nothing about this trip. Not a word. "It's been on the books for weeks," she added, already defensive, as if sensing his silence. "I'll be back Saturday night." "Okay," Mark said. Safe flight. The lie was so easy for her. So smooth. That night, he waited. He lay in the guest room, listening to the sounds of the house. He heard her shower, the hum of her hairdryer, the click of her bedroom door. He waited until 1 a.m., when the house was completely still. Then he went to his office and opened his laptop. He didn't need to guess anymore. He went straight to the joint bank account. He wasn't looking for airline tickets to Denver. He was looking for the real transaction. And there it was. A new charge, timestamped from just 3 hours earlier. $478. 22, Juniper Ridge Inn. Mark's breath caught. He knew the name. Juniper Ridge Inn. It was in Prescott, not Denver, not even close. Prescott was a 2-hour drive north, a quiet, historic town. It was a place known for its romantic bed and breakfasts, not its sustainability summits. It was a place to hide. The charge was booked for that same night. A same-day reservation. He felt a sudden, cold rush. He opened another tab on his browser and logged into their shared Apple account, the one she had forgotten to change the password to. He clicked on the Find My app. The map pulsed, locating her devices. Her iPad was at the house. Her laptop was at the house. But her phone was a small green dot, moving steadily north on Interstate 17. It was already past Black Canyon City. It was heading straight for Prescott. He stared at the screen for a full minute. The dot was a taunt, a final, blinking piece of disrespect. He didn't think. He just moved. He grabbed his keys, went to the garage, and got in his truck. He didn't pack a bag. He didn't leave a note. He just drove. The 2-hour drive was a void. He didn't listen to music. He didn't even notice the other cars. There was just the sound of the tires on the pavement and the steady rhythm of his own breathing. He wasn't angry. He wasn't sad. He was just done. He wasn't going to Prescott to confront them. He wasn't going to break down the door or cause a scene. He just needed to see it. He needed to stand witness to the end of his own life. He pulled into the gravel lot behind the inn around 9:15 p.m. He'd beaten her there. It was exactly the kind of place he'd pictured. Small, quiet, tucked into the pines, with lantern-lit paths. It was a place designed for secrets. He parked far from the lobby, under a dark tree, and he watched. At 9:23 p.m., Mia's black SUV rolled in. Mark's hands gripped the steering wheel. He felt his heart hammer, not with panic, but with a strange, final adrenaline. And then the passenger door opened. Logan got out. He was casual, wearing a simple polo shirt. He reached back in and pulled out a small duffel bag. Hers, Mark recognized it. Mia got out of the driver's side, holding her clutch, and checked her phone. They looked like any other couple, relaxed and familiar. Mark's phone was already in his hand. He pressed record. He filmed them as they walked into the lobby. Logan's hand was on the small of her back. They stood at the front desk for less a minute. The clerk handed them a single key card. They walked back out, not toward the main building, but down a side path. Mark got out of his truck, keeping to the shadows, and followed at a distance. They stopped at the door to room 7. A private cabin, set back from the others. Logan swiped the key. The door opened. They stepped inside together. Mark stopped, standing just behind a large pine tree, his phone still pointed at the cabin. A light flicked on. The curtains were still open. He watched as Logan dropped the bag and turned to her. He saw Mia drop her clutch on the chair. And then he saw him kiss her. It wasn't a peck. It wasn't a drunken stumble. It was a slow, Familiar, confident kiss. The kind of kiss you give someone when you know exactly what comes next. The kind of kiss that says, "We're finally here." Then, the curtains closed. Mark stood in the cold night air. He didn't know for how long. The sound of the crickets felt deafening. He finally had it. The proof. Real, cold, and physical. He turned and walked back to his truck. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just got in, put the key in the ignition, and drove home. He walked into the empty house just before midnight. She had left a note on the counter when she left for the airport. "Love you. Back Saturday." He looked at the note. He looked at the heart emoji. He picked it up, crumpled it in his fist, and dropped it in the trash. He went to his office, took a screenshot of the Find My location pinging at the inn. He took a screenshot of the room charge. He saved the video of them walking into room 7. He wasn't going to wait for her to come back on Saturday and hand him another lie. He was done. Mark got back to the house just before midnight. The silence was absolute. He walked past the note Mia had left on the counter. "Love you. Back Saturday." Red heart. The casual cruelty of it, the lazy confidence in her lie, was what broke the last thread of his indecision. He didn't sleep. He sat in the guest room, the video from his phone saved in 3 separate places, and he made a plan. The anger and the pain had burned away, leaving something cold and clear. He wasn't a victim. He was just a man with a problem to solve. At 6 a.m. on Thursday, he got up. He went to his office and grabbed a duffel bag. He was methodical. He packed only the essentials: his passport, his social security card, the hard drive that held all his personal design work, and 3 days' worth of clothes. He went to his nightstand, opened the top drawer, and looked at the box holding his wedding ring. He closed the drawer, leaving it. Before he left the bedroom, he went to the smart home panel on the wall, the one Mia had insisted on, the one that controlled everything. He logged in as the administrator. He had to know. He navigated to the security logs for the front door. He scrolled back, and back, and back. Guest code access, 2:14 a.m. Guest code access, 1:58 a.m. Guest code access, 3:30 a.m. Dozens of entries, all in the middle of the night, all on dates that corresponded with Mia's late nights at the office or early morning yoga sessions. He had been sleeping in their bed while Logan was being let in the front door. His finger moved to the user management tab. He saw her name, Mia, admin access. He pressed delete user. The system asked, "Are you sure?" He pressed confirm. He wasn't done. He went to the main settings and found the factory reset option. He tapped it. The panel beeped, went dark, and then rebooted. All codes were gone. All remote access was severed. The house was no longer smart. It was just a box, and she was no longer invited. He walked to the dining room table. He took a single sheet of paper from the printer and a pen. He wrote 4 sentences. "Mia, I know everything. I saw you and Logan at the Juniper Ridge Inn, room 7. I have the video. Please don't contact me." He left the note on the table, right next to her empty teacup from the night before. Then he walked out. He didn't slam the door. He didn't look back. He got in his truck and drove south on the I-10. He pulled over at a gas station just outside the city and sent a single text to his oldest friend, Cole, who lived in Tucson. "Hey, you home? I need a place for a while." The reply came back in less than a minute. "Doors open. Come through." When he arrived 2 hours later, Cole opened the door and just looked at him. He saw the duffel bag and the look on Mark's face and didn't ask a single question. He just stepped aside. "Guest room's made up," Cole said, pulling him into a hug. "I figured you'd come one day." Mark pulled back. "You knew?" Cole sighed, his expression grim. "I was at that rooftop party, man. I saw how she was with him. I saw how she looked at you. I didn't know how to say it." It turned out everyone had seen it but him. Mark spent the next 2 days in a fog. He slept. He sat on Cole's back porch and stared at the Santa Catalina mountains. He turned off his social media. He just existed. He was waiting. Saturday night, at 8:15 p.m., Mark was sitting at Cole's kitchen table when his phone, which he'd left on the counter, lit up. It was a notification from the Smart Lock app, a ghost in the system he'd forgotten to delete. Front door, access denied. Code 1-2-3-4. Mia was home. She was trying her old code. Front door, access denied. Code 1-2-3-4. Front door, access denied. Code 1-2-3-4. A few seconds later, the phone rang. "Mia?" Mark just watched it. It rang, and then went to voicemail. It rang again, immediately. "Mia?" He let it go. Then the text started. A rapid-fire assault. Text 1. "Mark, The door isn't working. What did you do? Text 2. This isn't funny. I'm standing outside with my suitcase. Let me in. Text 3. I'm serious. My code is gone. Did you reset it? There was a pause. She must have had a physical key hidden somewhere. Or maybe she got in through the unlocked backslider. Another text came through. Text 4, Mark. Text 5. Where are you? Text 6. I saw your note. The tone shifted instantly. The panic was gone, replaced by pure, cold fury. Text 7. You spied on me? You followed me. Text 8. We need to talk about this. You can't just leave. You're ruining everything. Text 9. Mark, please. Answer me. I made a mistake. We can fix this. Text 10. You coward. You didn't even have the guts to say this to my face. Mark stared at the messages. She wasn't sorry she did it. She was just furious that he'd found out, and furious that he'd left before she could spin the narrative. He tapped her contact name. He didn't block her. He just scrolled down and selected mute thread. He put the phone face down on the counter. She's home, he said. For the first time in months, he wasn't angry. He wasn't sad. He was just quiet. And he was free. Part 5. The resolution. Mark didn't just mute the thread. He muted her. He gave Cole's guest room a week, and in that time, he moved with a precision he didn't know he possessed. The first call he made wasn't to a therapist. It was to a lawyer. The best divorce attorney in Arizona, a woman known for handling high-asset, high-conflict partings. He sat in her sterile office in Tucson. He didn't come with tears or a story of a broken heart. He came with a file. I want a clean break, Mark said, his voice flat. The lawyer, a sharp woman named Sarah, looked at him over her glasses. In this state, clean is rarely simple. Arizona is a community property state. She's entitled to half of everything, regardless of indiscretions. I know, Mark said. He pushed a slim USB drive across the desk. This is a video of her and her affair partner, Logan Carmichael, checking into room 7 of the Juniper Ridge Inn. And then they booked while she was supposed to be in Denver. He pushed a stack of papers forward. These are the bank statements from our joint account. They show the charge for that inn. They also show charges for the Hamilton Spa in Scottsdale, a $1,200 weekend, while she claimed to be at a conference in Tucson. He added one more sheet. And this is the Zeller and Hunt charge from the night it all started. A $300 gift for him, bought with our money. Sarah looked at the documents, then at the USB drive. This isn't just infidelity, Mark. This is a dissipation of community assets. This is fraud. She used shared money to finance her affair. She leaned forward. With this, we don't just ask for a divorce. We file an injunction to freeze every shared asset immediately. She won't be able to buy a coffee without me knowing about it. The moment the papers were served, Mia's text changed. The anger vanished, replaced by a desperate, saccharine sweetness. MIA. Mark, please. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. MIA. That was a mistake. Logan meant nothing. You and I. We built a life. Don't let this woman destroy it. MIA. I'll go to therapy. I'll quit my job. I'll do anything. Just stop this. Call off your lawyer. He never replied. His lawyer's injunction was granted. Mia's corporate credit cards were frozen. The joint checking was locked. The investment account was untouchable. Her reputation was now mired in a legal battle she couldn't spin. Mark used the last of his separate, pre-marriage savings to put a down payment on a small, dilapidated workshop near Roosevelt Lake. It was nothing but cinder-block walls and a rusty tin roof, but it was his. He moved out of Cole's house and started to build. He worked with his hands. He took old, reclaimed wood and built tables, benches, and chairs. He sanded, stained, and sweat. The physical labor was a relief. It was honest. It was real. He posted a few photos of his work on an old, dusty portfolio website he hadn't touched in years. A week later, an email landed in his inbox. Subject: Commission inquiry. The message was short. I saw your pieces online. The craftsmanship is solid. I'm looking for some custom work for a new gallery. Are you taking clients? The name at the bottom was Orion Bloom. Mark stared at the name. Orion Bloom, the investor from the rooftop party. The man Mia had been so desperate to impress. The man who had been standing 10 feet away when Mark first saw the text. Mark replied, yes. 2 months later, Mark was installing 3 large tables in a new Scottsdale gallery. Orion Bloom was there to inspect the work. This is good, Bloom said, running a hand over the wood. You have a strong sense of structure. He paused, then looked at Mark. I was at that party. At the rooftop. Mark just nodded. I saw your wife with Carmichael, Bloom said. I also saw her friend, Jess. Look at you like the world was ending. I knew right, then you were the only one in the room who didn't know the truth. He clapped Mark on the shoulder. Integrity is rare, Mark. Glad to see you're putting yours to good use. Bloom's gallery opening was a success. Mark got 3 new clients that night. The divorce was finalized in record time. Faced with the video, the bank statements, and the lock logs, Mia's lawyer told her to settle. She walked away with her personal items and nothing else. The final piece of news came from Cole. You're not going to believe this, Cole said over the phone. Mark was on his new porch, watching the sun set over the lake. What's up? Got a call from a buddy who works compliance at your old company. Seems there was a situation. Cole explained. An internal audit had been triggered. Someone had flagged Logan's expense reports. He hadn't just been using Mark's money for his weekends with Mia. He'd been using the company's money, too. He expensed client dinners at the Hamilton Spa. He tried to write off the Zeller and Hunt gift as a team incentive. When the auditors dug into his computer, they found his entire email chain with Mia. They weren't just planning trips. They were planning to steal a client list. Both Mia and Logan were fired. Publicly. Not for the affair, but for conspiracy and corporate espionage. The last message Mark ever got was from Jess. It was a single screenshot of a LinkedIn post. It was Logan, announcing he was seeking new opportunities. Mark looked at the message, then deleted it. He turned off his phone, picked up his sander, and went back to work. The noise of the machine filled the quiet evening air. It was the only sound that mattered.